Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. Andrew Muscovy. Hope you guys are all doing well, bringing you an emergency episode this afternoon. If you're looking for the view from the opposition, that will come later on Friday, so look out for that. But we're here to talk about some breaking news this afternoon, and that is that Newcastle United are going to update their club crest. This is a decision. This is a story which has already divided the fan base. It was only announced at midday on Friday, and already the difference of opinion is startling, and it shows you just how much emotion is wrapped up in this decision to change Newcastle United's badge. The Toon bosses have released details regarding the badge and what they describe as an update to it. Basically, this morning after Eddie Howe's press conference, the club announced to the group of journalists who had asked Eddie Howe all the questions they wanted to about the game against Chelsea on Sunday, and they told them that if they hang around, they will be getting briefed by the club's branding team on this news. And I think that's the first thing there that stands out, is that the club didn't just release this to the public at midday. They wanted to make sure that the journalists who will be writing this statement up and then obviously digging deeper for a little bit more of information and what have you, kind of were able to get their viewpoint on why this is happening before it was released to the public, because I think the club understand that this is going to be such an emotive time as they decide what happens to the club badge. The current day crest, in simple form, a shield marshalled by two seahorses, very like the city's coat of arms, was created in 1988 and is arguably the most famous badge of the designs that went before. But after 37 years, it is set to change. The club say that their approach will be based upon the words refine and revive. That is after taking advice from the fan advisory board, in which the message delivered was that any update should be minimal. The club said in a statement, "This isn't a decision we take lightly. We love our crest. It's iconic and has stood us through unforgettable triumphs and testing times. But it was created in a different era. Its intricate design doesn't always translate well in today's digital world, and it's difficult to reproduce it clearly and consistently. As football and the world changes, so too must the symbol that unites us." They added, "This isn't about walking away from our past. It's about carrying it forward with pride. The crest is part of our story. It's on our shirts and inked into our skin. It deserves thoughtful evolution shaped by the voices of the people who love it." So if you're a season ticket holder or a member, you have been asked to take part in an independent survey. A link will have been sent out to you, and they're going to ask for your opinion on this decision. What do you want to keep? What are you happy to see discarded? The deadline to fill in that survey is 5 p.m. on Friday, May the 16th. So make sure you click that link and share your opinion. There will also be a fan consultation workshop on May the 14th, once again available to season ticket holders and members, so to allow the club to explain a little bit more about what is going on. That link will also be sent out to you. Fans who do not fit into either of those categories will have the chance to add their thoughts in a second stage consultation, which will happen at a later date, where we presume some designs will be shared with the public. Now, if we look back on the club's history, there have been four main badges. And here you can see them on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. There also been a fifth badge, which was a special anniversary design, which celebrated the club's 125th year. Now, the first badge came in 1969, which is very similar to the one used today, and it is the city's coat of arms. It was used until 1976 and was on the shirt as United lifted the Fairs Cup back in 1969. The second badge took a circle design with a magpie placed upon the castle keep, the rattan running beneath it, and Newcastle United Football Club running around the circle of it. The next design arrived in 1983, the one that has been used on United's third strip this campaign, and it is somewhat of a cult classic, with it being made up of NUFC, with the C being overturned and a little magpie being placed into it. It was replaced, as noted there, in 1989 by the current day crest. Now, if you look around the Premier League, Newcastle United are one of the few sides to still have the same badge that was made up of now, as I said, 37 years ago. The majority of clubs have updated their crest in recent times. Liverpool, Aston Villa, Tottenham, Chelsea. Loads of sides have done it. Newcastle really are a rarity in this kind of arena. Liverpool did it at the start of last season, pinpointing marketing reasons as a need for an update. They wanted to be better placed to be used in smaller spaces, i.e. kind of online on mobile devices where you needed to be that tad smaller, but you wanted to be clearer to the person viewing it. Aston Villa have had two changes in the last couple of years, going from a shield design, which was their badge for many, many a year, to a circle one, and then back to a shield for this season. It was described as a bit of a debacle, their whole badge change, and it will be something Newcastle will be looking to avoid. Most changes have been successful and have gone through with little fuss, but we look at Villa, we look at Leeds back in 2018. I mean, the Leeds one was particularly bad. It looked like something off Pro Evolution Soccer, and the outrage and outroar and reaction was so bad that bosses changed their minds. So definitely something Newcastle will be looking to avoid. And look, the very fact that they are opening up a line of communication to fans is absolutely crucial. It's a very sensitive issue and fans need to be consulted. I'm over the moon that they are doing. It is really important. If you think back to life under Mike Ashley, the previous owner, fans were not consulted about any major decisions. Something like this would have just happened. Think back to the renaming of St. James's Park. We all woke up one morning and down came the sign from the ground and it was renamed without any consultation at all. And when Mike Ashley left and the current owners came in, he spoke to fans. I'm a fan. One of the most important things about the new ownership was communication. You wanted to feel involved, especially with the big decisions. And I think to this day, okay, it's only 3 or 4 years on, that foundation is so important. And the owners, I think, recognize that the fans want to have that communication between those who own the club and those who love it. And that does appear to be noted by the current day ownership and continues, as I say, to be a major building block of their foundation for this club. My view on the crest, I love it. It is my favourite badge of them all, but there is a reason nearly every other club in the top flight have changed their badge. In the modern world, simple is better and arguably more lucrative. The club claim that the current design is holding them back, and while for some it will be hard to say goodbye to the current crest, if a new update boosts the transfer kitty, then I'm sure those tears will be wiped away. When the club say this isn't a decision that they've taken lightly, I believe them. It's a potential minefield. You can see that by all the different reactions to this news. It's woven with emotional ties. The club badge is iconic, but in the world of PSR, if it is proven difficult to replicate, then change is needed. The club, as with the decision of what happens to St. James's Park, will handle this sensitively. They have to. They will take into account everybody's opinion. But in truth, I don't think there's too much surprise at this. This has been whispered about for quite a few months, and now we have that confirmation. I do find the motto of refine and revive really intriguing. I mean, to that, many people could put the club in a bit of a sticky position, really, with little room to maneuver when it comes to that updated badge. And alongside the words that any update would be minimal, you do wonder how big any change will be. I mean, what does that actually mean? I'm sure that the club probably already have a few ideas floating around and they just want to firm up those with the opinions of the fans. But I'm intrigued by those two statements, refine and revive and minimal. It suggests to me nothing much will change. But then if you ask him what I think will happen, I think it will be a circle crest. I think it will look similar to maybe one like Chelsea or one like Aston Villa, who were then forced to change their badge because they said it looked too much like Chelsea. I mean, you can see the kind of issues that the bosses are going to run into when it comes to this decision. But my gut instinct says it will probably be a circle design, maybe not too dissimilar to the one that we saw from, as I said, I think it was 1976 to 1983. More than anything, though, I want to see the current update allow the club to be able to embroider the badge back into the jerseys. That for me takes any strip to the next level. I miss it. You think back to the 90s and to the early 2000s where that was part of your strip. You had the threaded into your shirt. I really miss that. And I understand that it's probably a little bit difficult as a club. Maybe you've hinted there in their statement that the current badge makes it difficult to do. But I do think having that embroidered into your jersey just makes it finishes any strip off. It makes it look so much better. So hopefully any update that does come along allows the club to do that. My hunch, as I said, I think it will become a circle. 5 of the current top flight do have circle designs. There are a few shields knocking about. You've got Arsenal and Villa, like I said, have gone back to a shield. I have to say that the opinions and reaction to this are so split. I asked for your opinion on social media. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, do get in touch. I really do want to know how you're feeling. Carl says, go back to the 80s one, in my opinion, or a variation of it. And he is talking about the one that is currently on the white third strip. Eric says, disappointing. The badge is perfect as it is. But whatever they choose, please do not make it a circle design. And he says there's no doubt that the current crest is difficult to use creatively, particularly digitally. When you look at the black and white variations used on some of the Adidas warm-up shirts, it tends to produce better than the full color version, but it's not the full indent. I think it's probably about time some give us more a portable icon that keeps hold of the heritage elements in some way, but is more iconic in its own right. I'm glad they've moved away from the Juventus style approach, though. It's going to be a challenge to balance the crest, to have a decent meaning, but if they can find a way of creating something unified that represents one city, one club, one heritage, it could elevate Newcastle to a global brand, sports icon, and the city within it. Thank you, Andy, for your comments. Toon Loon says, love our badge, but how many years now? The 80s one is so much more slick. Alan says, does it really matter so much? I would say no. I'm not old enough to remember the last badges, and the fans in the future to come won't remember this one, but memories of games is what they will remember. And that's not a bad point from Alan at all. I think that for my generation, I was born in 1991, so I've grown up with that badge, and it's all that I remember. It's all that I've known when it comes to Newcastle United's badge. So it will be difficult to say goodbye to it. But it's funny because my viewpoint on it has changed somewhat, like my viewpoint on St. James's Park has changed somewhat. If you'd asked me a year ago, would you accept an updated badge? Would you move from St. James's Park? I would just said no, straight away. No, no, don't want that. Keep everything as it is. Extend St. James's Park by 10, 15,000 seats if possible, but let's not move from that location and keep the badge as it is. But my opinion has changed. I'm seeing the battle when it comes to finance. And if change means better finance, more revenue coming in, then I'm happy to accept change. And I just think the way the club are going about it is the right way. That's really important. Get everyone's viewpoint in, make an informed decision, because at the end of the day, it's the fans who are going to buy the shirts. It's the fans who are going to buy the scarves and buy the hats. You know, they have to be happy with the badge that is upon it. But a really good point made there by Andy. There has to be a global appeal to it, doesn't there? And it's going to be really intriguing to see how they balance that heritage and get that global appeal, as you know the top clubs do. They go out and seek that market in Asia or the United States of America. You know, that's what the club are maybe looking at as well. The bigger picture. It's not just about the domestic market here in the UK, but how do we appeal to a global audience? And maybe a circle badge makes that a little bit easier. Craig says, I can't see how anything can be an improvement. This badge represents the best era of Newcastle's history. Keegan, Bobby Howe, Champions League football, League Cup winners. It's a badge recognised around the world. I get that, but maybe that's part of the problem. History. Is it not now the right time to begin a new era? The club mentioned it there. It was designed in a previous era for a different era. Is now not the time when Newcastle United have these ambitions and have the money to back up these ambitions to create your own kind of badge that sets you on a footing to being a successful club? And maybe with the success that's hopefully going to come down the years, they want that badge to stand apart from everything that went before. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. And Joe says, I look forward to a miserable circle badge with no colour, uniqueness, or joy. And Mike says, leave it alone. So you can see there, opinions are split right down the middle when it comes to the change of a badge. But reading the statement, one thing is certain, an update is coming. It's going to happen. It's now just about collecting your views and the club being able to go from collecting those views and change and turning that into a changed crest. It's going to be an interesting few months, isn't it? And I tell you what, they don't do anything to give themselves an easy life to the club, because alongside that, you have the decision on St James's Park. I think you have to admit that those inside the boardroom and those making these decisions are taking a hell of a lot on. I know they're separate kind of departments of the club, but a big few months coming up for Newcastle United in terms of this badge redesign and, of course, St James's Park. But this is what we want. We want the club to not shy away from these big decisions, and we want the club to make these big decisions with you guys in mind, with your opinion and your viewpoint, providing that kind of foundation for making these big decisions. Okay, it's not going to, hand them the full reason or the full logic behind these decisions, but as long as you guys have your opinion and you feel part of it, and it does form part of the reasoning, part of the decision to, redesign a badge or move, that's what's important. To feel united as one. I think the club totally get how emotive this news will be, and they will be looking forward to collecting all your opinions and seeing where your minds are at. So if you're lucky enough to be a 16 ticket holder, or indeed you are a member and you have that link, do fill it in. Do share your opinion, because there's no point ignoring it and coming back in 6 months' time and saying, well, I don't like it. Put your opinion in and make your viewpoint known. But there we have it. Newcastle United are going to change their club crest. For me, it's not that big of a deal. I think changing it, making it such a design that it's more lucrative for the club so they can bring in more money is the important thing. And that will then be kind of resulting in hopefully better players being bought, more investment into the club. So I'm all for that. I can take that balance. Not a massive thing for me at all, but I know everyone will be different. As long as the badge somehow has a bit of heritage and history into it, but also looks fresh and up to date, and then follows through on what they've said there. It allows them to replicate it that little bit easier, and then we can see the results in terms of more revenue, more global appeal. Then I'm all for change. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about it. This episode is sponsored by NordVPN and Crown Trade. Thank you to those companies for their support. Thank you to you guys for watching and listening. Get into the comments. I want to know what you guys are feeling about Newcastle United going along the road to update their club crest.